Nikki Johnson, can you raise your hand, please?
I think we're waiting for the mayor. Is that correct? Is he's scheduled to lead us today?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, Commissioner Hunthausen, he is scheduled to lead us. I'm trying to contact him currently, so give me just a moment.
No worries. I just didn't want to think everyone's waiting on me. So, but if we need to change plans, that's okay too. We can do whatever we need to do.
Make a motion that the newest member of the Joint City County Commission run this meeting. Just teasing, Tom.
Sounds like you got appointed chair.
Maybe I better be quiet.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize. I misread my agenda. I thought it was at 4 and realized it's at 3. My sincere apology. So, good afternoon and welcome to the City of Helena City Commission Joint City County Work Session, May 4th, 3:06 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I'll go ahead and just indicate the elected officials and the CAO and city manager, if that please.
Yes.
Commissioner Logan,
Here.
City Commissioner Emily Dean,
Here.
Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, I do not see Commissioner Halliday on the meeting currently, so we can come back.
Okay.
County Commissioner Tom Rolfe.
Here.
County Commissioner Jim McCormick.
Hello, I'm here.
And County Commissioner Andy Hunthausen.
Here.
City Manager Rachel Harlow-Shulk.
Here.
And CAO Roger Baltz.
Here.
All right, welcome everyone. And first on our agenda today is we'll have support services and 911. Police Chief Steve Hagan and Pete Callahan.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Danae, could you let me share my screen?
Go ahead and try, Chief. I'm sorry, my button seemed to be a little slow on the uptake.
Okay, let me try it again. think I lost it. Is it up?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna have to drag it. Give me 1 second. I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. This is a quick overview of the city 911 fund, which is City Fund 218, and the SSD fund, which is City Fund 219. Basically, they both fall under Support Services Division. It is the records, 911, and computer-related program for all emergency services in Lewis and Clark County. It's currently managed by the Police Department. It's overseen by the SSD board, and the voting members of that board is the Chief of Police, the Sheriff, a County Commissioner, the City and County Attorney flip-flop between years, and this year it's the City Attorney and the City Manager. And the budget receives approval through the SSD board, but it is formally approved through the Helena City Commission. The 911 Center is the public safety answering point for all of Lewis and Clark County. That includes law enforcement agencies, the Sheriff's Department, Helena Police, East Helena Police, Bureau of Land Management, and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. It also is the dispatch center for Helena Fire and 16 rural fire agencies, 3 ambulance services, including St. Peter's, Augusta, and Lincoln. And it is the main point of contact for the city and county services, meaning public works, streets, water, and other divisions after hours. SSD records. All of the records from the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department are managed through the SSD Records Division. They also manage protection orders from all of the courts in Lewis and Clark County. They do all of the arrest warrants for District Court, 2 Justices of the Peace, Helena Municipal Court, and East Helena Court, East Helena City Court. They are the repository for Lewis and Clark County booking records and booking photos. They also are responsible for Law and Justice Building Access, CGen Access, which is the Criminal Justice Information Network for Montana. They also handle all of the sexual and violent offender registry for Lewis and Clark County. And it's usually the first point of contact when someone enters the Law and Justice Center. The 218 fund, which is the 911 fund, is funded by a $1 fee on everyone's phone in Lewis and Clark County, and that is through the state law. 75% of that is returned to the 911 centers for operation and equipment and is managed by the state 911 program office. Grants are available through the state 911 office to pay for maintenance and improvement to the 911 systems. This was prepared for in anticipation of the April briefing. So in March, we did learn that we received 2 additional grants, one for a radio and phone recording system. Right now, the one we have is only able to record several of the radio channels because the Motorola system is not compatible. So this will bring us up to compatibility with all of our current radio and phone systems. We also received a $34,000 grant for what's called IZzyNet. It's an IP network. Most of the state has this, and we are working to get this implemented in 2021. Last year, if you recall, we received a $470,000 grant for the replacement of our 911 phone system, and we anticipate, actually it is completed now, and now it's just moving forward with other improvements. SSD, the 219 fund mainly is funded through the public safety mill levy, and the largest portion of this fund is used to pay salaries and benefits for both the 911 center and our records division. Currently, our SSD staff is composed of 15 dispatchers, 1 911 center supervisor, 3 records clerk. We are talking about adding a record supervisor and SVOR coordinator due to the additional requirements through the Sexual and Violent Offender Registry. The county has agreed to pay an additional $45,000 through the public safety mill levy for this position. We also have a public safety systems administrator. So that's the person that we call when someone calls and asks for data on events in Lewis and Clark County.
Chief, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I apologize, but if you're hoping that your presentation is scanning through, it isn't.
Oh,
So,
I am sorry. I thought it was. I'm actually looking at it scanning through. So I guess I'll just keep going. I'm just about done. So sorry.
okay, not a worry. I just wanted to make sure you knew.
So the HPD, the Helena Police Department, provides a lieutenant to supervise records in 911 at no cost to either one of the funds. And one of the things we're looking at this year is a staffing study to help look at additional needs, especially in the 911 center. We started the process this year of replacing our 20-year-old records management and computer-aided dispatch system. It's a multi-year project and a multi-million-dollar project. We've set aside $100,000 from each one of these funds to hire a project manager, and that RFP just went out last week. And as I previously mentioned, we got several grants. One of them to record our radio and phone traffic. We also have put in for a records and SVOR coordinator position and the staffing study. So those are some of the highlights for the year. Some of our future concerns and needs are the update and replacing of outdated equipment and a sustainable capital replacement schedule. The grants have been a lifesaver for us for the last couple of years, but there are years we have not received any grant funding. So we are trying to build up reserves in this fund to replace costly systems when they do eventually go down. We're going to need additional dispatch staffing in the future to cover the increased needs in Lewis and Clark County, including mental health and fire. And we'll have to look at adequate funding sources in the future. I'm sorry about the lack of scrolling through of my presentation, but are there any questions or anything that I can answer for you?
Thanks, Chief Hagan. Any comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I do have just one quick question.
Go ahead, even though I saw Commissioner McCormick hand up before yours.
Sorry.
Go ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
Sorry, Commissioner McCormick. I'm just wondering, Chief, if you could just briefly talk a little bit about what impact replacing the records management and CAD system would have for us locally.
So one of the huge issues that we had during the recent discussions about the police department and police policies and procedures was the request for data on multiple levels. And in order to get this data, it's a manual search for most of what we do. As you know, the request for and the type of information we've needed over the last 20 years has drastically changed. So that's one of the improvements in that system. The other one is our dispatch system, our computer-aided dispatch system is just as old as our record management system. And it's going to require some major changes in how we handle mental health calls, medical calls, fire calls. We've adapted as we went, but it's becoming more and more difficult. So that will improve there. And another one is hopefully we'll have a more effective way to do mobile reporting for our officers and get them out of the office and out onto the street.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner McCormick.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Chief, it's been a while since I've dug into SSD, sitting on the board a couple of years ago, but I remember it always being a subject and a challenge to be fully staffed. I think, if I remember correctly, 15 911 center staff is fully staffed. How's the staffing look right now?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, and Commissioner McCormick. Currently, the FTEs is 15 in the dispatch center for dispatchers. We are at 14 right now. 2 are in training. I just put 2 solo today, which helps immensely. But we have 2 in training and 1 short position, and we've had 1 dispatcher let us know that she is leaving in July. So we've just opened up for 2 additional dispatch positions. It is a very difficult job to do, and it has very high turnover. In the future, what we are looking to do is hopefully hire enough staffing so when we do slide to low numbers, it's still very sustainable. What happened 2 years ago is we slid down to 8, and 8 is almost unsustainable. They were on 12-hour shifts for 6 months. So we don't want to get there again. So we're trying our best to keep the staffing levels up. I hope that answers your question, Commissioner.
It does. Thank you very much, Chief. And a follow on, Mr. Mayor. Salaries and benefits. There's pressure on that always. Are we staying at least treading water with salaries and benefits, or are we losing ground?
Nope. Right now, we are either number 1 or number 2 in the state in pay, and we continually are that back and forth. And why I say that is we currently compete with only 1 other agency for employees, and that's the Highway Patrol, who happens to have their dispatch center here. So we'll sign a contract with our dispatchers and making them the highest paid in the state, and then Highway Patrol will do the reverse. Most agencies do not have to compete for staffing in their own county, which we do. So we are benefits and salary-wise among the best in the state, always, for dispatch.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet, Commissioner. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Well, thank you, Chief Hagan. We appreciate your report.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Do we have any public comments?
oops, this is Mayor. This is Rachel, the city
Go
manager.
ahead.
I was hoping to ask a question.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Chief Hagan, I hope you stay on. Thank you.
I didn't leave.
Okay. Hey, quick question, Steve. Can you, Chief Hagan, can you provide the difference? I had a hard time. The summary sheet in the packet was blurry. Can you provide the difference between what was adopted last year and what is requested this year, and what that distinction is?
Under which?
So FY21 and FY22, what's the cost increase between one year to the next, and what that amounts to?
Yes, in the 911, last year it was 843,000 was the projected for FY21, and this year the proposed is 972,000. One of the huge differences, or one of the reasons it's such a large number is because of the grants through the state 911 fund. And for SSD, and I'll explain this a little bit, but total expenditures for FY21 is approximately 1.3 million, and this year it's 1.8. The 1.3 million is after we received money through the CARES fund. Some of that money went directly back into the 911 fund to pay for dispatchers. Went back into the SSD 219 fund to pay for dispatcher salaries through the CARES Act. So we were able to have some savings in that by approximately $300,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comments? And we'll go to public comments. Do we have any member of the public wishes to address this topic? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no raised hands and I have no written public comment on this item.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to HATS, East Valley Bus System, Director Kanopke or Superintendent Goldman.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm going to give this over to Superintendent Goldman to give you a brief overview of Capital Transit and the East Valley bus route. Elroy?
Mayor and Commissioners, good afternoon. In summary, just a brief recap. We've discussed our budget for capital transit in depth at the beginning of the year, and it's about $1.47 million, almost $1.5 million for that operations. For the East Valley, we're looking at roughly around 153,000 total, of which 93% of that funding between East Helena and Lewis and Clark County comes from Lewis and Clark County. And there's no proposed changes in those dollar amounts for that funding. And there's an additional approximately $80,000 that the state puts towards that as part of our operations grant. So again, we're not looking at any changes. In fact, since I've been here, we have not proposed an increase in the amount requested from the county or East Helena since before 2018. Hours of operation continue to be the same for East Valley's operation, and we've modified our schedules here at Capital Transit to have that same window of shutdown in the middle of the day for health and safety reasons, to clean the buses, make sure the drivers are decontaminated, and that's working out really well. We do still have a requirement to wear masks on the buses, or individuals and passengers have to wear them on transit facility properties as well. And that's by presidential order. So it could become interesting in the future when the county lifts the mask restriction here, because we're going to still be under a federal order from the president. Ridership is slowly going up everywhere. In comparison to last year in March, which wasn't part of your packet, but was part of my recent update for quarterly submittals to the state, we had 4,799 riders total in all systems, fixed route, paratransit, East Helena, East Valley combined. Last year at this time, we had 4,448. So that's good news. We are seeing an increase in ridership. Unfortunately, that's still 50% of pre-COVID numbers. As an example, same month in March of 2019, we had 9,983 riders. So COVID has impacted us significantly. But again, we are an essential service to the community. So whether it's one rider or 4,000 riders, we're going to provide that trip for those who need it. Let's see, we just got approval from the state to release an RFP to secure, hopefully, a new scheduling software for our dispatch center that will provide some efficiencies such as electronic fare collection, better reporting and tracking. So our hope there is that we get something that is very good and innovative for our system here and benefits both the capital transit operation for the City of Helena and for East Helena in Lewis and the East Valley side of things. And then recently this year, we received 2 Dodge Caravans that were part of the CARES Act funding by that former President Trump approved. So we got those for free from the state at no cost, and those have been out on the roads and actually have been in operation periodically in the East Helena, East Valley area. In addition, we've received 2 of our Ford Transit vans that we requested. We've requested a total of 4, 2 in 2020 and 2 in fiscal year 2021. We're still awaiting the 2 from fiscal year 2021 to arrive. Those are all-wheel drive vehicles. They've been in operation, 2 of them now for the last 2 weeks. And one of them has actually been serving the East Helena, East Valley area, because the bus that typically works that area is sitting at Ford awaiting parts that are probably in a cargo container on a dock somewhere. And no specific timeline for when that part may arrive. And so, but at this point, with those 6 total vehicles, hopefully due to be in service here by the end of the year, we made no request at Capital Transit for any additional capital. So no funding request went up for that portion of our budget. And we felt that was the prudent thing to do to allow other agencies that provide rides in town to secure an upgraded vehicle if they can from the state. And with that, that's my brief update as far as how we are sitting now and what we're looking for FY22.
Thank you, Superintendent Goldman. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner Dane.
very briefly, I know, Mr. Coleman, you all have been working really hard on getting ready to get that new scheduling software, and I'm wondering, since the RFP will be going out, do you know what the timeline is for getting that up and going?
Commissioner Dean, Mayor, the timeline that is proposed is we're hopefully going to have it published out this week. Responses are due back in May 24th. There we'll evaluate. I believe I've got it down June 14th. We'll make a recommendation, get that prepared and placed in front of the City Commission for approval of that prospective contract and move forward from there. The target is we have to have somebody under contract for that service if we do it by June 30th, so we don't lose that funding that I secured from the state of Montana for FY20.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dane. Any other comments from the commission? Are there any public comments? Do we have any raised hands, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no raised hands and no written public comment.
Thank you. We'll move along. City County Building Administration Superintendent Sampson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners.
You
Today I'll be presenting the budget for the joint city-county facilities. The first one would be the city-county administration building. The city-county building is, apologize for that. So this fund accounts for the administration and maintenance of the city-county administration building. Rent charges are the predominant source of funding, primarily from the City of Helena and Lewis Clark County. We impose a square foot rate as rent, and this year we're proposed to increase from $19 per square foot to $19.50 per square foot. So it's about a 2.5% increase. Our expenditures, other than capital purchases and debt, are budgeted to increase by about 5.7% over the FY21 adopted budget. And these increases are primarily due to budgeted personnel costs. Maintenance and operation for the facility, as usual, our normal annual carpet replacement in various offices. We have some boiler feed water pump replacements scheduled, and we have some exterior maintenance on windows and soffit. Those are just some of our smaller maintenance projects. I do want to say that when we talk about the increase to the square foot rate, I did meet with both Finance Director Ms. Danielson and County Finance Director Everson to discuss the increase for rent this year, and our justification for the proposed increase for both the City County building and the Law and Justice Center is to make small annual incremental increases to keep up with cost of living and adjustments in personnel, increases in contracted services, purchase services such as gas and power, and maintenance supplies and materials, and to save for future capital projects and replacements that may be needed. Another factor to that increase was to avoid having to go out for any debt for some of these larger projects. I took those increased proposals to the County Chief Administrative Officer and the City Manager for their approval, and they both agreed that this was a good increase. Our debt for the City County building, we had a cooling project that we completed last year. The intercap loan payments for this year for FY22 will be around $85,000. And then the proposed capital projects that we have anticipated, we have east entrance door replacement, which is at the main entrance of the City County building. We're also going to do an LED lighting retrofit for a portion of the building. We have some tile roof repairs that need to be accomplished. The west and south parking lot, we're going to seal and stripe those. And then we have potential conference room audio video component replacements. Our summary is that, the expenditures projected to exceed revenues by about $124,500 this year. And I apologize here. I'm going to share my screen because I meant to do that earlier. There we go. So we are going to not, go back up here real quick. So the expenditures are going to exceed our revenues, and that is shown here on our green sheet. We're trying to reduce our cash in these, or we're using our cash to do the capital projects instead of going out for an intercapital loan. So it is going to reduce the overall fund cash balance from about the $700,000 down to the $153,000, which is normal for our operation. Is there any questions on the city county building fund before I move on to the mail fund?
Why don't you just move on and then we'll do questions at the end. If
Okay.
That's okay with you.
Yes, sir. The city county building mail fund. We have the centralized mail system that provides mail service incoming and outgoing for both the city and the county. This operation is funded predominantly through mail service charges to all the departments that reimburse the mail fund for the postage and the mail delivery costs. Revenue is budgeted at an increase of 1.5% over the FY21 adopted budget. And operating expenditures are budgeted at less than 1% over the FY21 adopted budget. And the only capital expenditure that we are planning for this year is a replacement mail delivery vehicle, and that will be funded through cash reserves. The city county building telephone fund, this is kind of a pass through. This fund accounts for the activities of the city county employees that answer the telephone for the telecom enterprise, which is a part of IT&S department. So our staff continues to operate switchboard and call route calls, and IT&S actually reimburses this fund for those personnel charges. But we do account for that in this fund. Next would be the last one here is the City County Law and Justice Center. The City County Law and Justice Center was purchased in late 2019. We have a couple years of history now in that building on operational costs. And so this fund accounts for the administration and maintenance of that facility. Again, like city county building, rent charges are the predominant source of funding, and the city and county are the primary renters. We're proposing to increase square foot rate from $16.25 to $16.75, 50-cent increase. The revenue is budgeted to increase 7.6% over FY21 adopted budget. due to additional space being rented now by the municipal court and also the 50-cent increase. Expenditures other than capital purchases and debt are budgeted to increase by 18.6% over FY21. These increases are primarily due to budgeted facilities, project management charges, and personnel step increases. The debt that we have now for intercap loan is for the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and code improvements. And that payment for FY22 is estimated at $59,333. In FY22, we do not anticipate any capital projects. We have a lot of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing and code improvement projects that we're currently engaged in. We want to get that project completed and then do a reassessment at that time, and we'll have more projects for FY23. And our expenditures are projected to exceed our revenues by about $43,500. And that is all I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Comments or questions from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Thank you. Mr. Sampson, I was just wondering, so I see here on the Law and Justice Center, nothing is planned for this year for capital projects. Can you remind me what the timeline is for any other potential like larger capital projects in the Law and Justice Center?
So right now in the current fiscal year, we are working away at upgrading our mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and any code improvements. Along with that, we have a roof replacement for the pillar section. And of course, each of those, the mechanical is really, we're talking about the air conditioning and heating system, any electrical upgrades that need to happen associated with that. And then code improvements, we're currently finishing up the fire alarm project, making sure we meet all the ADA, and make the remaining unoccupied floors of the pillar building occupiable. So making sure that they meet all of the code requirements. And we're trying to do that within this current project. So yes, there's nothing planned for next year. I do see some of these projects possibly carrying over into next year to actually get completed. And then that gives us, it'll give us an opportunity to kind of step back, look at everything we've done, and do a real good assessment again of what's left and prioritize what's left so that we can find a way to fund those improvements. Hopefully able to do that either through, rents and, or maybe there's some other options there for us.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Loughlin, and go ahead, Commissioner Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, for Mr. Sampson, how much of the Law and Justice Center remains unoccupied?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Logan, we have 2 floors. So we have the second and third floor of the pillar building that are unoccupied at this time. Square foot wise, that is approximately about 6,000 square feet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the commission? Do you have any public comments? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no raised hands and no written public comment.
Thank you. We'll move along. I received a message that the executive director who's supposed to be delivering the presentation for HCTV had an emergency, so she will not be here. But there is information in the packet and she's looking forward to answering questions when she gets back. So we'll move along to IT Services Director, Sinroot.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners.
Good
I'm Chris
afternoon.
Centered, Information Technology and Services Department Director for the City of Helena and Lewis Clark County. Provided to you in the packet was our FY22 budget. The budget comes with a 3% rate increase, which has been reviewed and approved by both the IT Steering Committee and the IT Board. The budget includes updated operating personnel and capital improvement costs. Just a short summary from last year, we have completed 53 of the 62 assessment items and a little over 1/3 of the IT security assessment tasks for improving security for the city and county network. Of the remaining 9 IT assessment tasks, 5 are well underway, and we have 40 to 80% that are complete. Included in the budget this year were new costs for multi-factor authentication, updated antivirus tools such as Proofpoint and Iron Scales, which handle and secure and help secure our email, Zoom, and updated costs for our CIP equipment. We look forward to serving you this year, and I would entertain any questions from you, Mr. Mayor, or the commissioners.
Thank you, Director Sinroot. Comments or questions from the commission? Do we have
Mr.
any
Mayor?
public? Go ahead.
Sorry. Just one quick question. I'm wondering, Mr. Sinroot, if you could maybe talk a little bit about, I guess, what methods you all have in place to ensure that city staff and county staff are getting the support they need throughout the year, and do we have benchmarks to track that throughout the year?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Dean, thank you for that question. One of the things that we have is our ticketing system. We utilize that for bringing in any service requests from any of the departments, regardless of whether they're city or county or East Helena police or state of Montana for that matter. Those through that system and utilize our processes in place to gauge how those services are being completed, if they're completed in a timely manner. One of the other things that we have done, thanks to Ms. Harlow Schalk, is this year we have looked at and developed some workload metrics where we're gauging how our systems are being utilized and our workloads are managed. And we are keeping a close eye on those things and what our focuses are. The other thing that we also take a look at is checking to see where the priority is of these requests that are coming through, whether it be phone, email, Teams. However, we have half a dozen different ways for people to communicate with us, and pay attention to those things and listen to the departments for what their needs are. The other thing that we have been doing is gauging and listening to and having sit-ins with some of the department directors. We're going to go through the list of all the departments and complete all of those meetings. And what we're doing is listening to figure out what exactly is going on with their services and where IT can fit in and help them with some of their technology needs. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yep, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And Commissioner Dean, any other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner O'Loughlin.
Thank you. Mr. Sinrud, I'm trying to look through the packet here. Do we have what was budgeted last year?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner O'Loughlin, if you look back to the cash flow sheet that was provided in that packet, on the very last page, that will have what those budget numbers were.
Can you?
And the projected for last year on that cash flow is 2.6 million. This year it's 3.2 million for FY22.
Okay, I guess it's described as projected.
Right.
I was just wondering if we have what was budgeted, or is this the number of what was budgeted?
At that particular point in time, that was what was budgeted, Commissioner, yes.
Okay, so this is so it's looking like it's a $600,000 increase, roughly.
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
And I apologize because I know you just said this, but can you point me to where those big changes are occurring?
Yes, Commissioner, Mr. Mayor. We have added 1 FTE for this year, and then the other items that we have added were security related. So those were things like Proofpoint, our multi-factor authentication. Along with that, and keep in mind, there's also the 3% increase to the budget overall. And that also includes what our projected costs are going to be for all the licensing and replacement of equipment and things of that nature.
Okay. And is that the position that that was taken out of the budget in the last fiscal year, or is this a different FTE?
This was the security. We swapped the security officer for the operations manager, Commissioner, and we had added in the system administrator, which was considered a new position last year for the Track It system and the financial system.
Okay. And how many total FTE are in your department?
We have 16, Commissioner.
Okay.
Let me back up one step. We do have 1 vacancy. We're looking for a web developer. So, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, if you know anybody that's looking and wants to build web pages and all that stuff for us, we'd love to entertain that. That position's open until the 11th of May.
What's the finder's fee?
Mr. Mayor, I'll buy you a beer and dinner. How's that?
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the commission? Yes. Manager Hollishaw.
Sorry, I just put my hand up. I'll wait until the commission has other questions.
Do you have any other comments or questions from the commission? Okay, manager.
Thank you. Wanted to, Roger and I both have an item we want to bring towards you, forward to both of our commissions, and it's specific to the IT team. There are a number of opportunities that the City of Helena has been working through. And one of those is the workload indicators, as Chris has identified within the IT system. And part of that he has been working on, and we'll continue to get our handle on how much of the services are actually yielded to the City of Helena by way of the work done by the IT team. And as part of that, Roger and I have and believe we need to request a position which is not in this packet, and that is the position that was eliminated in those 2 positions, with which Commissioner O'Loughlin just confirmed with Director Sinrod is part of that conversation. We eliminated the position, I believe, a couple of years ago, and Roger can correct me on the timing as well, and step in at any time, Roger, to correct me. The position itself was an operations and business manager, and I believe it was a deputy at the time. We're recommending that we go ahead and fund that position again this year, and it would be a business operations manager again, and splitting the cost of that. Now that is new and an additional dollar set that we had not prepared for and are recommending I'll be studying as part of my commitment to the commission with this new and added cost. I'll be studying the workload of the IT team over the next several months and evaluating whether or not the city is yielding what we need to into the future of our operations and where we're heading next. So I'll turn it over to Roger if you have anything to add.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess I would just say, no, Rachel covered the topic very well. The position was titled Operations Manager / Deputy Director, and it was removed from the budget last year. This has been the first full fiscal year that we've been without that position, but glad to answer any questions, but I believe that Rachel covered it very thoroughly in her comments just now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Do we have any questions from the commissioner? But I guess, yeah, Commissioner Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question for either Manager Harlow Schalk or Mr. Baltz. What was the dollar amount again? I think I missed that is not included in the packet.
I think it's at 54 apiece, huh?
Correct. 54,000.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Any other comments from the commission?
Just one question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner McCormick.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sinrud. You may have touched on it, but I missed it. Is where we are with the, I believe it's 62 recommendations from our study. And there are still a few pieces of that yet to be done. Would you speak a little bit about that? And if you have budget for finishing all of that work, would you let us know if that's in there?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioner McCormick, thank you for that question. I believe we do. The security assessment is really one of the largest tasks that is remaining. That's really part of the security plan that we're implementing. That would be where we are looking to do any funding. The remaining topics are related to project management, which we feel, based upon our workloads and whatnot, there would be a project manager that would possibly need to be funded later on. We are carrying roughly 50 medium to large size projects every month, and those obviously take some good focus and energy to make sure that we're on track and taking care of those. Some of the other items that are left on the assessment really deal with strategic planning and records management and things like that that really involve the security, or I'm sorry, the IT steering committee, as well as the records management appointees for both the city and the county, and what our records retention policies are and things of that nature. Those items possibly could come down to funding some projects, but at this point in time, we see those more as being policy based.
Okay, so I take that as the budget considers all of that. There's adequate funding for that in this proposed budget, all of that?
Yes, Commissioner. The other thing is we still have of the IT assessment funds that were remaining, we have a little over $54,000 left. Keep in mind that when we first started that, there was $200,000 both from the city and the county. We have not hit that $400,000 mark. Some of the projects that we have been tackling have taken some of those funds. This year with COVID and the COVID funds and all the different ways things were being funded, it was kind of a benefit to us. We did get some reimbursement for some of the things that we needed to do anyways. So that money has had a little more longevity as far as that goes. Right at this point in time, we see maybe another $20,000 or $30,000 that we could utilize for some products this fiscal year. Have some requests into Roger and Rachel to discuss in that regard, but this budget does take into account those items that we have.
Okay, thank you. And one follow-on question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Sinrud. These projects and what's left with security is the timeline or target date. We've been working on this now for a few years. How much more time will you need to complete these projects?
Mr. Mayor and Commissioner McCormick, I believe that we can get the majority, if not all of them, completed by the end of the next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you very much. It's good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner and Mr. Sinru. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments? Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no public comment, no raised hands, no written public comment on this item.
Thank you. Well, we'll move just along. Lewis and Clark Humane Society, Director Dalton.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I did send over everything as far as our request for an increase this year. It's our standard increase that we've asked for I believe, the last 5 years. I also sent over our 2020 numbers so that you guys can see how many animals were served by the Lewis and Clark Humane Society. We do, obviously we provide the contract to the city and the county. And so that includes stray animals, owner turn-in animals, as well as safekeeping. So somebody's going to jail and they have a dog in their car. They need somewhere for the dog to go. So we also provide that. I don't really have anything other than what I put in the packet. So if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Do they get the animal back for the people going to jail?
So yes, they do. We provide 72 hours of free safekeeping for people that end up, in jail, or if they end up at the hospital and their animal is left in their home. And then after that, there is a small fee, but oftentimes they do come get them, or they have someone, trusted guardian come get them.
Okay. Comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question. I was just making sure that I didn't
Well,
miss
it's
it.
public comments time now. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Every time you get me. Do you have a comparison of the increase in animals that you're taking care of year to year? I was trying to look in here, but I didn't see a comparison in there.
Yeah, I actually do not. I can tell you, so last year we took in, I believe, 1,500, or the previous year we took in 1,500 animals. Last year we ended up taking in around 1,200, but luckily for us, COVID actually was really helpful. Everybody was home, and so they wanted to come in and they wanted to adopt, and they had more time to spend with their animals. So we saw our numbers dip. We're already kind of seeing them start to go back up now with a lot of behavioral issues because animals were not taken to training and have been at home. So usually we sit right around 1,400 to 1,600 animals. Last year was kind of irregular.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other comments from the commission? Any hand raised for public comments, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, no hands are raised, no written public comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Dalton.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mayor.
You bet. We'll move along. Lewis and Clark Library, Director Finn.
Good afternoon, Mayor Collins, members of the committee. Thank you for the invite this afternoon. I hope you have had a chance to look at our preliminary fiscal year 2022 budget, and will be open to answering any questions you have, but I thought I'd go through a few of our highlights for the budget and maybe a quick look back at our pandemic and construction year here at the library, if you don't mind. But the highlights for us in fiscal year 2022, we are basing our budget figures on projections from Finance Director Everson and her estimates for the coming year for the library's mills and entitlement funds. And we're looking at a 3.4% increase in revenue for the library. Total expenditures are set to see an increase of 3.3%. Personal services have increased by 2.2%, and this includes a modest pay increase of 1.4% based on CPIU. Investment interest revenue will decrease dramatically this year for us based on the fact that we expended almost all of our depreciation reserve funds for the library remodel project here at the main library. We did spend down $4 million of our depreciation reserve funds for our project. The biggest impact on our expenditures for this coming budget year, we have budgeted $250,000 for the repayment of our intercap loan. We took out a $2 million intercap loan to help us complete the remodel project here at the main library. And that will affect our expenditures over the next few years. We have 10 years to pay that back. It is our goal to pay that $2 million back in 5 years. That is our goal. I hope that we can accomplish that, but that will definitely affect our expenditures over the next few years. A big highlight every year is the fact that we participate in the National Endowment for the Arts Big Read project. We just found out today that we have been awarded our 15th annual grant. We're one of the few libraries in the country to successfully get that grant for 15 years in a row. It's truly amazing. I can tell you, if you don't tell the press, please, that this year's Big Read book will be An American Sunrise, a collection of poetry by the poet laureate Joy Harjo. So our Big Read this year in the fall will be based around poetry. That is a first for us here at Lewis and Clark Library. We're really excited about our 15th Big Read grant. Just a few highlights from 2020 and 2021 for us so far. We had 0 significant illnesses nor any COVID outbreaks here at the library. We had 0 jobs lost. We kept everybody on board during the pandemic and especially the early days. We completed a $6 million remodel project. If you have not been to the library yet to see the finished product, please come down and see it. I would be happy to give you personal tours or small grouped tours. If you would like to do that, just let me know. We're very proud of the building, and I would love to give you a tour. During the early days of the pandemic, we set up a remote branch that we were calling the Capitol branch, which was next to Leslie's Hallmark on 11th. We set that up. We made a real estate deal. We moved 25,000 items and opened it to the public in just a couple of weeks. So we mobilized like General Patton's army, actually. It was quite the feat. We set up contactless holds. Staff returned safely to the building on May 4th and got all of that preparation ready for the branch. We created a bunch of new, innovative, and responsive programs, both online and in person. The Bookmobile provided support to our elderly community at assisted living facilities and nursing homes all over Lewis and Clark County. We created thousands of craft kits and play kits for kids to pick up here at the library and at the branch libraries and on the bookmobile. We created a new staff blog. We created several YouTube videos for our patrons. We were motivated by a desire to keep serving the public. We took every opportunity that we could to make sure that the public was getting books in their hands and craft kits and information that they needed to navigate the new world. We came up with creative solutions and responses anytime we could. We explored lots of sustainable ideas. We formed a reopening committee in the fall of last year to make sure that we were opening in a safe way for patrons and staff. And the branches, our branch libraries in East Helena, Augusta, Lincoln, and the Bookmobile took this opportunity to really expand their collaboration. And they were the ones who really drove a lot of our decisions about the ways that we were going to reopen and offer holds pickup for our patrons. We're really proud of the year that we had. We had the dual headache of pandemic and library construction. There were tears and dust and bloodshed here. I had 6 stitches because a piece of book shelving fell on the back of my head. I was not wearing my helmet, unfortunately, but things went well, and I would love for you all to see the library building. And I'm open to any questions you might have about our budget year and the things that have happened here at the library over the last year.
Thank you, Director Finn. Questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I don't have a question, but just a congratulations on all the really amazing work that the library did this year. Not just the remodel, but I know it was a huge asset for a kind of a lonely year for a lot of people. So really great job, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Commissioner Dean.
Any other comments or questions from the commission?
Mayor, I'll just echo that and say that my daughter loves the new children's section. So congratulations. And she doesn't want to leave. So congratulations. And it's been a great remodel and nice to get back in there again. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I will say that the children's area is not quite what it will be. You know, we're still in COVID protocols here, so we don't have any toys out. It's not as fun as it's going to be once we're back to normal. The foundation has provided thousands and thousands of dollars of brand new Legos and toy trains and all kinds of interactive equipment for the children's area. That will be a highlight once we're back to normal.
Good.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just echo what the others have said, but also about the tour. Get down there if you haven't been. It's really an amazing remodel. So take the tour. It's worth it. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll be there. Okay, Manager Hollishock.
Thank you, Mayor. John, I really did enjoy my tour. It is fantastic, the work you've done down there. And I know I enjoyed the book for this year, so I'm excited for this next one coming up. I apologize for this late question. We just learned, we're still learning. I'll put that out there. I'm still learning how all of the budget crossovers that we have between the county and the city. And the most recent, in the last couple of weeks, frankly, we learned that the city and the county, the city manages the benefits for the library. And I'm not sure if we've ever had an agreement around administration. And I'm not sure, Roger, if your operation also does any sort of administration for other items across other agencies, and how you handle that administration outside. Is there a value or a percentage of allocation? How do you manage that? And I'm just wondering, John, if that's ever come up in the past.
It has not come up for me as far as an agreement that we have with the city. I'm sure we do. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I know that the county does charge us for some things that they do for us. But as far as our benefits plan, that is a completely city operated plan for us.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could weigh in.
Please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Yes, Rachel, the county has some other entities or agencies that we provide benefits for. MACO is one of them. Pureview, which separated from the county operations some time ago, and we do charge a pass-through administrative fee. It is a new thing for us. We've only just recently begun doing that, but yes, we do indeed. We have a similar situations, and we do charge a administrative fee.
So John, we may follow up with you to come up with that that number and talk with Nancy as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments from the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands for public comments?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no public comment on this item.
Thank you. We'll just move along.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Finn.
Thank you.
Youth and Adult Community Service Program. Supervisor McNeil.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor, he's transferring over into the panelist section, so it may take a second.
Okay.
There we go. Can you see me okay?
We can hear you okay.
Good. Can you see me too?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Look, the seeing you is important. Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Do you want me to describe this and get started?
Please, the floor is yours.
Sure. So I receive referrals for people to do community service from all the different courts around, and also from the attorney's offices and probation offices, and some out of county courts occasionally. So then I need to track their community service that they're doing, try to find them places to go, things to do, verify that it's all legit, report that back to the referring source, and keep track of all the statistics for it. I also receive referrals for folks that have been asked to go through court-ordered counseling or chemical dependency evaluations, and also to pay a monthly supervision fee to my office. That's the Victim Services Office part of my position. And while the Victim Services Office numbers were pretty steady in 2020 compared to the previous few years, the community service numbers were quite a bit lower in 2020, which I think is to be expected. But it's already looking better in 2021, slowly. A little more hours are getting done. And so aside from all the COVID protocols and the reduced hours, I've been busy and things are going well, really. Is there any questions for me? That's really all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor McNeil. Do we have any comments or questions from the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands from the public?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no public comment at this time.
Thank you, Supervisor McNeil. Historic Preservation Operations and Project. Officer Attardo.
Hello, Mayor Collins and Commissioners.
Hello.
For the public, my name is Pam Attardo. I'm the Historic Preservation Officer for Lewis and Clark County and the City of Helena. So I submitted a 7-page memo and attachments back in March that indicated that the county commissioners had recommended that I investigate a more equitable funding of the Heritage Tourism Council during last year's budget, and I've asked the same this year. So essentially, the HTC requests increased financial participation from the city to be more commensurate with the larger share of workload that is dedicated to city projects. The increase is an additional $31,537.50 above the past year's contribution, which was 20,000, for a total of 51,537.50. 1,537.50 would represent a 50-50 budget cost share approach from both the city and the county for FY 21-22 for a total of $103,075. You will note that 100% of the county's contribution to the HTC's budget comes from funds generated outside of the city, so city residents would not be paying twice if the city increased its share. The HTC was historically funded 50-50 by both city and county until 2011, when the city declined to fund the HTC. When the city resumed funding in 2012, it did so at the reduced amount of $20,000, and this figure has continued to be its contribution. And so, as I indicated, this indicates the county commissioner's intent to investigate more equitable funding, and I've included a couple of Excel documents on your as an appendix to the memo. And so during the period of April 24th, 2020 through March 25th, 2021, myself and a preservation contractor logged 1,023 hours on city-related work compared to 406 hours on county-related work. And you'll note that last year's budget were very similar. 1,264 was city and 443 was county hours. Thank you very much. And does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Officer Tardo. Comments or questions from the commission? Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands for public comments?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no raised hands and no written public comment.
Thank you again, Officer Tardo.
You're welcome.
Okay. Oh, geez. We have exhausted this agenda. So I'll move on to, do we have any final comments from the commission? Or discussion? If not, is there anybody from the public wishes to address this commission, this joint commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any raised hands?
At this time, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I have no raised hands. I've received no written public comment either.
Okay, we'll give them another 45 seconds and we'll move along. Any final comments? If not, this meeting is adjourned.